man of low record and character, and termed his account as absurd and utterly false. Mr. Gentleton echoed those sentiments Thursday. Mr. Johnson is a desperate individual who's been indicted on over 80 counts. His allegations are false, and the flailings of a desperate man, the Reid spokesman said. Mr. Reid had long opposed online gambling, making clear his position in a 2006 news conference. I, at one time in my career, was a chairman of the Nevada Gaming Commission, which is a regulator for gaming in Nevada. I was there when gambling went to New Jersey. I don't believe in internet gambling, Mr. Reid told reporters. I know how hard gambling is to control. I had my life threatened on more than one occasion as a result to untoward people who were involved in Nevada gambling. I was involved in shutting down major hotels because of the involvement of organized crime. The commodity of gambling is cash. And if someone asks me if I oppose a study, I don't oppose the study. If anyone wants it to study it, they can study it. But unless I'm convinced differently, I do not favor internet gambling. Shortly after Mr. Reid won re-election, the Senate Majority Leader surprised by publicity supporting legislation to legalize online poker. Under the status quo, the internet poker is played by millions of Americans every day in an essentially unregulated environment. Mr. Reid said in December 2010, the legislation I am working on will get our collective heads out of the sand and create strict regulatory environment to protect U.S. consumers, prevent underage gambling, and respect the decision of states that don't allow gambling. Mr. Reid's spokesman said his boss actually began reconsidering that position in late 2009, well before the fundraiser. Senator Reid has always opposed broad-based online gambling, in part because of concerns that it could not be regulated. Since the issues first arose nearly a decade ago, new regulations, new technologies have been developed, including technologies that would enable sites to block minors. Due to these and other developments, Senator Reid became convinced over time that states should be allowed to decide for themselves whether to allow online poker, Mr. Gentleton said. Tainted accuser. Mr. Johnson credibly is certain to come under attack from anyone he levels accusations against. Federal prosecutors secured a federal indictment accusing the St. George, Utah businessman of 86 criminal charges, accusing him and other executives of his former financial firm of bilking tens of thousands of consumers out of millions of dollars. A plea deal between him and the government fell through before charges were filed, and the U.S. Attorney's Office subsequently secured a gag order from a federal judge prohibiting Mr. Johnson from talking to the media. Despite the accusation portraying Mr. Johnson as a swindler, FBI and state investigators have unearthed some early information that would substantiate some aspects of his claims against state and federal officials. They include canceled checks of the sum of the payments Mr. Johnson purportedly made to third parties and other than Mr. Reid, other bank records, and even a photo of the fundraiser with Mr. Reid, officials said. Lee's question. The questions in broad-ranging state probe that surround Mr. Lee involved real estate transactions in which Republicans bought a home for $1.1 million in Utah in 2008 when he was still a private lawyer, then sold it for $720,000 after becoming senator, leaving his mortgage bank, J.P. Morgan, to absorb a significant loss. Investigators want to know whether Mr. Lee accurately described his personal finances in conjunction with the mortgage transactions. Investigators have gathered information that Mr. Lee sold the home in a short sale in 2011 to a campaign contributor and federal contractor as part of the short sale. Mr. Lee forfeited his down payment and left the rest of the loss to his bank, then immediately turned around and rented another property from the same donor for just more than $2,000 a month. A spokesman for Mr. Lee confirmed the House transactions, but said the senator accurately reported all of his finances and all the transactions were legal and proper. The purchase of the house was completely above board, so there was a little to consider about appearances, spokesman Brian Phillips said, adding that Mr. Lee, at the time of the house transaction, didn't even know the buyer was a federal contractor. Around the time, Mr. Lee made a speech on the Senate floor praising the same donor who brought his home. Mr. Lee called the donor a friend and suggested the donor's books and writings might offer a blueprint for compromise in congressional budget talks. Mr. Phillips said his boss did no other favors for the donor, that the brief mention on the Senate floor was an off-the-cuff, unplanked remark referencing a single line from a widely sold book by the donor. Mr. Lee told a newspaper in Utah that his sale of the home and the rental of the new property were not connected, but rather separate transactions involving the same friend. He said he gained empathy with average Americans after experiencing the loss of his first home in a short sale. It is certainly something that's painful to go through, and I know a lot of people are going through it, and I feel those who have had to go through it, Mr. Lee told Salt Lake Tribune. And this was ABC News contributed this report, and the author was John Solomon. Interesting. As the plot thickens, I say. Well, we all know, many of us know, including Judicial Watch, that Mr. Reid is one corrupt parasite. The man is very anti-constitutional. He proudly breaches the oath of office consistently, especially our Bill of Rights culture. Don't matter what amendment. Yeah, I know he's anti-Second Amendment, but if you're against one of those first 10 amendments, you're an anti-Bill of Rights, period. Mr. Lee, certainly, he could be a neocon stooge. Not really impressed with him either. But the question I say is, who they infuriated? Or, other words, pissed off? That's one question I have. And I would like to see the Beehive State go follow through this investigation. If they can't get cooperation from the Justice Department, do a grand jury on a state level. They have those 10th Amendment powers. So I like to see that happen because we need to do a lot of cleaning. You got a lot of these individuals that believe they're above the rest of us. They're our servants, not our masters. In addition, all these benefits they're getting from these elected servants, that need to be abolished. Then you got term limits without having to vote on it. Think about it, folks. So, I just really find this very intriguing. But I'm glad I got it. And I did send it off my Facebook and Twitter accounts. So that's a good thing. And I will put this article up on my Spreaker page. And that's, to be honest, that's really it, my friends, on this. So you can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Tumblr, YouTube. And as always, demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate societies. Until then, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.